Not half pop, because I know we've started a little bit early. We have. We've started a little bit early. I'll tell you why we've started a little bit early, because I never know if this system's going to work anymore. All right. How many of you have a dog or a cat? How many of you have a dog or a cat? And wait, I'll come back to that. You know him. You love him. I haven't seen him for a few weeks because he's a very busy man and he's been on tour with, I'm making it up, I've no idea. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Long.
Hello, Russ Kane. How you doing?
Very good. I managed to get the system to work, hence I was able to start, which is just...
So I see, and we started about 30 seconds early, according to my clock.
Early, because I thought I was going to have several minutes of effing about trying to get the button to work. What happens...
What, sorry?
You press the start button and it disappears.
Oh.
Not only that, I can't hear anything on my phone. Is anybody clever and knows how to do a phone? Because I absolutely don't. Anyway, Neil Long, how are you? We need to know. What are you doing now? Is Ken down there? You're just giving him his lunch.
It's not what I'm giving him.
What have you been up to, boy? I haven't seen you in ages.
I went away for a few days. We did a gig down Hailing Island, which was fun. This weekend, I've had a super busy weekend. Friday morning, did a radio show on Jackie. Friday afternoon, I slept. Friday evening, did a gig, disco gig. Saturday, I was on Radio Jackie. Saturday night, did a disco gig. Sunday, I was on Radio Jackie. And Sunday night, I did a comedy gig. And then this morning, I was on Radio Jackie, and I'm here with you.
Wow. Graham Pack is saying this, Neil Long. Hi, Ross. As of now in the autumn, can I wish you an early Merry Christmas? The reason he's saying that, right, I was flicking channels and I was watching a movie. I was watching an old Western. Hi, Robert.
Yeah.
I was watching an old Western and the ad break came up, right? Ad break came up. Now, it was yesterday, was the 8th of September, not October, not November, 8th of September. Christmas adverts came up. Christmas adverts came up. So I did a post about it, Longie, right? And everybody piled in, like they're walking into their supermarket and it's packed with bloody mince pies and all the other stuff. Have you seen this yet?
I haven't, but I kind of love Christmas. I don't mind seeing ads. Everyone kind of goes
September
and starts moaning about it. I actually quite like it. I love all things Christmas, so I'm not actually terribly bothered.
This is from the man, ladies and gentlemen, who leaves his Christmas decoration lights up all year. I went in, I remember once I was over, I'm like, you're a bit early. I haven't taken them down yet. What?
You should see my girlfriend. She's got an absolute grotto at Christmas. I mean it.
I wonder where you were going with that for a second. I got a little bit concerned. But okay, I look forward to meeting this mystery woman, a woman of mystery.
What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well,
or should I not ask?
No. I just did a post, right? And it was this. In October 1961, the Russians dropped the largest hydrogen bomb ever made, 50 megatons. And it was gigantic and just terrifying. And it made an incredible mess of the area in the Baltic Sea where they dropped it, right? Obviously, as you would imagine. Clearly, people who say that the Tsar bomber was the most powerful thing ever dropped have never tried to shower a mini schnauzer called Ebony. So this morning, I took her in, I put on my, it's pathetic, put on my shorts, right? And I had to get in the shower with her, right? So she proceeds to
Please tell me you filmed this.
I didn't. I couldn't because I was soaked. I was absolutely soaked. And her way of now, if you give her a bath or a shower, she poos everywhere. This is it. Talk about a dirty protest. So I have been cleaning bathrooms like you can't imagine. She then goes absolutely insane and just runs. Normally, she does nothing, right? She just sleeps. She's 15 and a half. Where is she now? She's sleeping now in the basket, right? But normally, she started running like a Skeletrix car. It was extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. So that was my day. What have we got?
I used to be like that at bath times too.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say anything, Neil, but, as a pal of many years, Grandpa just got back from Spain over the weekend. It's bloody cold here. Thank goodness I'm off to the... Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Gran. We really... I couldn't be more thrilled. Right. Now, I'm excited.
Why are you excited?
I'm going to tell you why I'm excited. Because I'm a lot older than you, right? When I was growing up as a kid, because I wasn't born looking like this. I know it's a shock. I thought it was the law in Britain that every film made in the UK had to feature an actor called Sam Kidd. Had to.
Okay.
You couldn't make the film. It was either him or Sidney Taffler. One of the two had to be in the film. I've never seen anything like it.
Okay.
I thought, it must be part of the regulations and law. Turns out it's not. Anyway, on Facebook for some years, I have been a Facebook chum with his son, Jonathan Kidd, who I have admired as an actor. I've admired him as a voiceover artist. And now he is an author with this. And I love the title. I don't know if you can read that. Go Quicker, Sound Slower. An actor's voiceover diary. And he is our special guest, waiting in the green room. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jonathan Kidd.
Ross, what a lovely intro. Thank you very much.
It's the biggest intro I could think of, really, to be honest.
That was an epic intro. I mean,
that was epic. Well, I'm a big fan.
For that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. That's why.
Thank you.
And the other reason I'm a big fan, as Jonathan knows, is that I listen to an awful lot of radio plays. And they're from all sorts of different years. They're not always current. And I would try and message you going, I'm just listening to this. Up you came. And just listening to this. And up you popped. And, you never know when you're gonna be in my earphones as I'm walking the dog.
I had various halcyon days as a radio performer. I think particularly there was a period in the 90s when I think you get discovered by various producers and your flavor of the month for a bit, and they use you for that period. And then they either something dreadful happens in their lives and they're no longer a producer, or they think they go on to bigger and better things. So this was the same, the world of voiceover. So many producers that would then go into film in some way. So you'd lose that contact. And so much of acting is about context. By the way, just apropos what you said at the very beginning, my dad I've got all his archive because that's how I've been able to write all these books. There was a letter from somebody saying, we associated you with the television set we bought, Sam.
Yes.
Because every time we watched the television set, you were on. And then my son said, he hasn't been on. The set must be faulty. Which I thought was a lovely. He's a man. It's been fantastic. This archive is how I was able to write the first book that I wrote about. I mean, essentially, it was his autobiography that never got published because, I mean, to be frank, it wasn't any good. I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but he was so eager to please everybody. He was so eager not to be disruptive and not to create any change. Yeah, because when he wrote it, 1973, he was still. Oh, by the way, I haven't said hello. I do apologise. Hello, is that Neil there? Is that
that's all right.
That is NEIL LONGIE LONG.
Neil, a delight.
That's all right. I was just giving one of our lovely listeners a wave, but you can have it as well. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
The reason he was waving, and I will explain why, is because Asa is one of the top psychotherapeutic gurus in America, and he always watches the show from the northeastern United States, where you're going out live right now.
Live. Okay, fantastic.
Live, baby, live.
Welcome to the show, Jonathan. Great to have you here.
Lovely to see you, Neil. Thank you.
Nice comment from Rosemary Jessup, Jonathan. You can read that. Viewers
Rosemary, I know well. Rosemary is lovely. Viewers knew the film.
She's my horse tipster. She's my tipster, Neil.
Because she used to be a very successful theatrical agent, of course. And did you not know that?
I find this out now.
Yeah,
I thought she bred horses.
Well, she probably
Am I going mad?
Is this a different Rosemary Jessup?
No, it's exactly the same Rosemary Jessup.
Yeah, because she's my Facebook friend as well. Anyway, what was it? Yeah, yes, she says, I'll just read this out. Viewers knew the film would be good.
Oh, sorry, hang on. I'll put it back. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Viewers knew the film would be good because Sam was in it. Jonathan is another incredibly talented and thoroughly nice man. Oh, Rosemary. Good luck with the book, Jonathan. Thank you.
Jonathan, yes. We've got that for Jonathan. We've got that for safety. We've got that for safety. Could we try it one more time? Just slightly slower, but with more emotion. And a slight giggle in your voice, if you could.
Well, actually, I could do all of that. But do you want the eyebrows raised? Do you want that kind of thing?
We want a Roger Moore, one raised eyebrow.
Can I do several for you? Can I do several for you?
Please do. Let's hear it.
Let's go. Rolling.
Viewers knew the film would be good because Sam was in it. Jonathan is another incredibly talented and thoroughly nice man. Good luck with the book, Jonathan. Now I'll do another one. With eyes with the eyebrows. Viewers knew the film would be good because Sam was in it. Jonathan is another incredibly talented and thoroughly nice man. Good luck with the book, Jonathan. And I'll do another one. Viewers knew the film would be good because Sam was in it. Jonathan's another incredibly talented, thoroughly nice man. Good luck with the book, Jonathan. And another one. Viewers knew the film would be good because Sam was in it. Jonathan's another incredibly talented and thoroughly nice man. Good luck with the book, Jonathan. And I'll do another one. Jonathan knew the film would be good because Sam was in it. Jonathan's another incredibly talented. The world of madness is now ensuing. I'm going to go. But what I seem to enjoy the look for, just to say, was.
Do you know why I say this? We should explain this to everybody watching all over the world, is that when you do voiceovers, and the three of us have all done them, not to the extent that you have, but
not to that
when I had a life, I used to get called in to do voiceovers. And at the time, it was very, very lucrative. And then it will all change. But that's another discussion for another day. But really, you would, Rosemary, look at this. This is so sweet. You have made my day. Brilliant. What I was going to say is you go in and normally it's a 30-second commercial, if that. And you normally, to be fair, nail it in the first couple of takes. But of course, the session's booked for an hour. And all the clients are there. So you've got the production company, the ad agency, and the clients. So for the ad agency to look like they're earning their money, they make you do about 850,000 takes. Whereas you've done it, honestly, you could be in and out in about 4 minutes.
Yeah. Remind me of a scene. I can't remember the film. It's a film with Robin Williams in it. Might be Mrs. Doubtfire, but he says there's this really miserable woman interviewing him for benefits or something. He says, "And what do you do?" He goes, "I do voices," and he just goes into all these different voices, just like you did. And she goes, "Do you think you're funny?" What is that? Is that Mrs. Doubtfire?
It is. I've got an 8-year-old daughter. We took her to the musical recently, which I have to say,
what's it like?
Fantastic.
Is it? Really? Is it worth seeing?
Fantastic. And I am the world's worst theatre critic. I hate everything because I foolishly did a drama degree. And so I know everything about everything. I'm such an annoying know-it-all. I go, sounds terrible. I mean, having said that, I took her to see Shrek at the Hammersmith Odeon, the Apollo.
Oh, yeah, we reviewed it on the show. We have a theatre critic. Every other Friday, we have a top theatre critic.
Oh, wow.
They're called Jonathan Baz. He thought it was okay for kids, but,
Yeah. But also the first half, it was completely inaudible.
Yes, he said this exactly.
And I was thinking, no, but hang on, I've paid 50 quid for this. I'm sitting halfway around the back. You have to pay. If you're in the front, probably in the front row, you'd probably been great. But I took my 15-year-old daughter and she loved it. The reason she loved it was the guy playing Donkey was an influencer. He's on TikTok.
Oh,
and she loved it because of that reason. She said, "Oh my God, it's him! Oh God, look, I'm here. It's him."
See, I'd have been, "Oh my God, it's Eddie Murphy in the film."
That was enough for me.
I mean, his presence, but it was enough for her just to be, "Oh wow, look at him there." Anyway, but what you were saying about doing the takes, Russ, was it's in the book actually about that, how there are 11 people in the room. And I do a Daily Telegraph ad, and it's what you get this week in the day. I'm doing my straight read. What you get read, newspaper read. What I've done every single paper possible.
Of
you do for the Sun. For the Sun, you used to read like that for the Sun. Or even
this is your away, Sun.
It's like the Mirror. It was like that. Plus, it was always plus this week. The Sun. Plus, plus, plus. And then you fished in, but it was always, and they'd say, can you fit a bit more in? And you go quicker, sound slower. That's what they'd say to you. Can you go quicker?
Did you ever watch the series, which I absolutely adored, and I thought it was so underrated, Toast of London?
No, can I just say that everybody mentions that to me, and can I just leave that, just park that somewhere else? Because I'd like to have been involved in that. There were some ideas that I'd put up in a video I made. And I think, how can I put this? How can I say this without being libelous? I think
ripped off.
I think
you're looking at.
Yeah. So, and I was then blocked by the guy who did it. I've never met him. He blocked me on Twitter for no money.
Matt, can I ask you a question about voiceovers?
It's
just a question. I've always wondered this.
Wow.
You know, when it's like for buying a house, and then they have to do the terms and conditions at the end, and it really speeds up. Your house may be repossessed if you do not keep repayment. Do you actually read it at that speed, or do they speed you up?
Well, I had the ability to read it at that speed. I mean, I'm so ancient that I go back to an era where, in fact, they do it on tape. They'd record it in an enormous theatrical studio. Yeah, and they cut bits, and they give you, if you didn't get the whole thing right without making a mistake in the first 5 takes, the advertising agency were really annoyed with you. This, however, is 1986, and since then it's evolved. But no, there's an interesting bit about that where I describe myself as being I've got the go faster stripes on, you know, and ran around like a cheetah on fire, but it's this home will be repossessed if you don't keep up. The thing you have to do is to be the advertising standards authority come in and get you if it's not legible, if you can't understand it. So it has to be that. So I remember I did one for Formula One that was just absolutely, it was exactly like that, and they wanted that, and they have the ability now. It's now because the digital world has just changed. You can actually be awful, and they'll cobble something together of competence for you. This is why I'm afraid so many members of the public are now involved, because they're very cheap, and the emphasis is now on the engineer to make it work. It used to be it was down to us, and it used to be, and it's all done by the engineer sitting at his home, and the studios aren't, and very few people go to studios anymore.
Actually, they take out what they do, of course. In the old days, as Johnson was saying, it was on tape, on a reel of tape, and you'd have to get, like we did at Capitol, with looming razor blades and cut the tape, cut your fingers to pieces and stick it together. It was a nightmare. And then you realize the thing you wanted was in the waste bin every time.
Yes.
Where's that thing?
I was good
Where's
at it.
that thing, Neil, where you were hilarious and you did that little thing in, it's over. Oh, Christ. And then you go through the waste bin, and it was awful. Now they can take out the breaths, and they can take out the breathing, compress it.
What I would love is that you do the ad, and the pause that you put in, because it was the comedy pause, and you knew that was what was making it work, when you heard the ad, would no longer be there.
Oh, yeah.
They just stuck it back. They cut it out because for time, or somebody had made the assessment. I mean, once again, this is in the book, all about how somehow they have this approach to humor that doesn't exist. Some of them, the number of times that I do a that's my book, it's in there. The number of times that I do a narrative. A narrative was something you were doing for the advertising agency, so you're trying the advertisement out for them, and you do the ad for them. It's on Amazon, by the way, the book's on Amazon. And you do the book, you do the read for them, and when you saw it when it was made, they got rid of the middle of the joke. So it went from the beginning to, you went, no, it needs a setup. No, or even they just got rid of the end of the joke. So it's just the 2 setups, and you go, no, there's no joke now. So it was, I would look on in despair frequently. But no, just to go back to that story about there being 11 in the studio, I did a Daily Telegraph ad, which my bizarre agent at the time, who's in the book, who I've called Diggity Dog, and she, rather than the real name, which I have to say, lots of names have changed. They've had to be
to protect the innocent.
Protect the innocent, exactly,
and protect your bank balance. I should imagine as well.
Yeah. But if the 11 are there, and it was a data, and it was something, and I was talking about the papers, and it would be something like this week, great, because it's Daily Telegraph, it was more modulated. This week, what you'll find in the Daily Telegraph, we've got features, and of course our great sport this week in the Daily Telegraph. I had to do it like that, and And they all went, yeah, it's great, it's great. And the producer came in and said, great, Jonathan, we've heard him. He said, got it in 1 or 2. Can you do a few more? And of course, you're then in a world of dreadful possibilities.
World
do
of
you give
pain.
alternative read, or do you do the same one again, hoping that they'll just go, that's great? Anyway, anything anybody can say. And the one, somebody in the room, everybody said, it's great, it's great, it's great. And a little voice said, can you go up at the end? Can you go up at the end? What, as in Daily Telegraph this week in the Daily Telegraph? And it was the work experience girl. It was the work experience girl. And they all went, everybody went, oh, yes, that's a wonderful idea. Because also nobody wants to be seen to be contrary in any way. They all want to have something to say.
Well, going up at the end would infer a question rather than a command. So
you could do that. Would be the Daily Telegraph, but there wouldn't be that.
Oh yes,
it's completely ridiculous.
I was going in the Daily Telegraph because it was an emphatic end. The Daily Telegraph.
Good question coming in for you. Good question. Then I've got several of my own from Philip Hartling. Hello, Philip. Hello, people. Would Jonathan do a voiceover for a product he didn't agree with? Good question.
Very good question. My father was a smoker. It killed him. He got emphysema. He smoked 60 to 80 a day.
Oh my God.
It was unbelievable. Not absolute change, non-stop, 3 on the go occasionally. I'd say to him, one going in the sitting room, you've got one in there, and it killed. It got emphysema. It killed him. And it affected him much earlier because he couldn't walk without wanting to wee a lot when he was younger, when he was in his 50s, because he was smoking so much. So I said to my agent, I don't want to do any cigarette ads. This is when they still made cigarette ads. And she said to me in a wise way, which I accepted, she said, you will offend the agency. The agency will be offended that I'm employing somebody who is offended. So I've got, on my book, somebody who's offended. Do the job. Give the money to charity, she said. And so I did one, but then the ban came in. But it was an enormous dilemma. But yes, I wouldn't do anything that was that I just.
It's interesting you say that, Jonathan. I don't know if you know this, Neil, but I was always a corporate writer. I wrote for every company you can imagine.
You've never mentioned it before at all, Russ.
No, I know that. Thanks, Neil. Do you ever do stand-up, Neil? Because you've kept that very quiet. And disco gigs. You. Anyway, one day we did a presentation, and I had another agent at the time, and we were kind of like business partners on this thing, Joe. And we went into Saatchi and Saatchi, who at that time were the kings of all advertising, to pitch for a cigarette account. Not for Europe, but for the rest of the world, particularly South America and Africa. And we won the pitch. And it's the only time in my life as a writer that I had an unlimited budget. They said, you can spend whatever you want. And Saatchi's then were in Charlotte Street. And I walked out of the meeting because it was going to make me an absolute fortune. And I got to the first set of traffic lights with my chum, and he said, you're not happy, are you? And I went, I can't do it. I can't in all because, and please don't think I'm being rude or big-headed. I knew because of my work that it would be very, very effective and very beguiling. I knew that we were going to a much more unsophisticated audience, and I'm not being rude. It wasn't Europe. Okay. I didn't want to be responsible for making people want to smoke. I couldn't live with that. And I walked away from I walked away from it. And I wouldn't have perhaps if one of the guys, the room was filled with smoke, because in those days you smoked in offices. And a guy in a 3-piece big, who had never obviously had a salad in his life, 3-piece pinstripe suit said, and I hadn't asked the question. And he went, I bet you're thinking you're going to persuade people to smoke. Well, you're not. All you're going to do is change brand allegiance. And I thought, that's a lie. If I thought I was just going to change the brand that you smoked, I would have considered it and made God knows how much money. But I knew I'd be getting people to think smoking is interesting, it's sophisticated, it's cool. And I didn't want to do that. Couldn't do it. it's that question is yeah, it's a good question.
I think if you had a death in the family as well from it, it's
yeah. Well, my dad died of cancer, so I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. I'm with you on that. Have you ever had a product, or have you ever gone in and you just couldn't do the job?
No. Never.
Really, never.
Always been able to do the job.
Wow.
Always had a go.
Wow.
Always have a go. It's been my motto. Always have a go. My dad's motto was always say yes. That was his big thing. Can you ride a horse, Sam? Yes.
Yes.
Never ridden a horse in his life. We made the film. It was Rainbow Jacket. No, it wasn't. It was before that. It was Devil on Horseback. And as a consequence, was then in about 4 films being a jockey. He was down as rides like the wind by his agent.
Oh my god!
So,
what they meant is he has wind by his agent. Neil, have you ever been unable to and just walked away and thought, and you've realised you couldn't do it? Neil,
morally,
yeah.
No. Just because something came to mind. I had to leave the studio once.
Let me ponder that for a minute.
I was called in. And I was completely the wrong guy because my voice was totally wrong by a Middle Eastern advertising agency. You can see where this is going. The answer is not well. And I think it was for Brill Cream back in the day. And they wanted a voice like that. It was the most sexist, revolting advert. It was a TV thing they were running through the Middle East. And it was the most horrible, sexist, misogynistic piece of crap ever. But they wanted a voice, and I can't do that unless I'm being stupid. I can't do it. And they kept saying, all these Middle Eastern guys.
Sounded pretty good, Russ, that one.
You're very sweet. But the Middle Eastern guys took one look at me, and for various reasons that you can write in the subtext, we didn't like each other straight off. And I'm doing my best. I had to leave. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I worked with
an actor once who did say, this is in the book as well. He said, Jonathan, I'm so pleased to see you're doing well. I presume you've reached the stage of your life and your career where you could just, if you don't like it, just walk out. And I said, in what instance? He said, I do that all the time. I said, and he was he'd worked at the National rather a lot and been in several sci-fi series on the box on BBC. So it was quite, and I said, are you working very much at the moment? He said, no, alas. And you think, well, yeah, probably because you just kept walking out all the time.
Walking.
Reputation. You have to say, I'm sorry, this isn't for me. I can't do it. I'm terribly sorry. No, I'm not doing this. Or even, no, I have been in a few. I've done a few where I've thought, I'm not sure what to do. But what you do in that instance, I've always found, is I've thought, let's use one of the 6 voices that work. I mean, it's like in the book, once again, I'm asked to play a tree for CBeebies. And you say,
tree?
A tree. I'm asked to play a tree. It's an animated.
So how does the tree talk?
Animated tree. Asked to play that. So, and it's somebody at the BBC, a tall, willowy woman with a haircut that looks as if it's going to attract moths. It's that kind of setup. And she's very like that, She said, "Well, we need a tree. We need to be a tree to be like it." I say, and I'm thinking, I said, "Well, give me a picture of the tree." "Oh, we haven't got one of those." "Okay, we haven't got a picture yet. It's not animated yet." "Well, describe the tree." Give us a few trees. We haven't really decided, so you've got to give it." "Yeah, okay, a few trees." So I came with a voice like that, a tree, and she said, "Oh no, it's not a sapling." You go, "Oh, okay." Okay. Okay, right, good. No, there's age to it. Age. It's an oak. It's bigger. Oh, there is it. It's an oak. Okay, it's the size of an oak. Okay. I said, "Well, about the voice." "Oh, no, accent. We don't want a Cockney. Not a Cockney. Trees aren't Cockneys." "Oh, okay, not Cockneys, right? Okay." As if I would know. Then she said to me, "It's got very long roots." She said, "Very, very deep roots." Well, that's really helpful, isn't it? So I'm thinking, God, I'm running out of voices, no accents. Can't pitch it up. She didn't like that. So I could make him old and venerable if that's okay. Or I can make him feel like that if you like American accent. Like that. No, I said, sorry, no accents. That's right. Yet, yes, old and venerable, very slightly shaky. Too old. Okay. well, how about a little bit less? I could just make him a bit like that and happy. Oh, we like that. I thought, it's just my own voice.
I thought you were going to end up at kind of Liam Neeson as Aslan. I thought that was kind of
where I think she said we like the other one. We like the other one. The one I'd done. It always happens in this as well. They always go, players take one or two. And you play and they go, we like that one. And you think that's the one you rejected. Well, in my book, once again, they seem to like a nerdy voice. I'm asked to play a pair of socks.
Oh, let's hear this.
What?
And the chap says, they're blue and they're in the tumble dryer. Okay. As it once again, yeah. Okay. I just used to go that my phrase was, okay, then, which actually meant you're all mad, aren't you? Okay, then, I'll have a go. And I was thinking, I've got about 9 voices I could use. He doesn't want to be a foreign accent, can't be American, can't be French, can't be whatever. What can it be? Okay, so I can always do that, it's that kind of accent like that, which that's he said, I love that one. I love it. I love that. So I don't know why that they liked the nerdy voice, but I'm frequently people saying, play a nerdy voice. Yeah, all right. Or when in doubt, I go for that one. And they go, we like that one. That sounds very interesting. You just think it's,
problem.
That kind of, So.
My problem is I'm a terrible giggler.
Okay.
And the more serious and inappropriate it is for me to laugh, I don't know what it is. It's just a reaction. I just laugh uncontrollably.
It's like laughing in class when you're not supposed to. I had a moment like
that.
It
is. And I never do it as a celebrant. I'm quite a different person then. But sometimes in the studio, something will set me off or somebody would catch my eye line back in the day when I used to do this stuff, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I got called in to do incontinence, which for reasons... And the engineers were laughing. It's not a funny subject because I have prostate problems myself. All right, putting it out there. So, and they were laughing, and I kept apologizing. Do you know what they said? They said, "Oh, please don't worry, Russ. David Suchet was in a few days ago trying to do this, and he had to give up." It's just the thought of David Suchet cracked up over something which isn't really funny at all. Although the worst one, and we're going to get back to your book, for some reason, I know nothing about football, as Neil knows. I know nothing about sport. I don't watch it. I don't follow it. I don't know. If you said Danny Blanchflower's still playing for Spurs, I'd probably believe it. And I got called in by an American company to do the whole thing. Stop it, Paul. To do the whole World Cup. The World Cup was in America, and they were doing this whole television series, and they wanted me to do the whole narration. And the technology wasn't great, so there'd be a motorbike courier waiting to take the tapes to Concord to fly it over to New York. You didn't have all this wonderful stuff like WeTransfer. Didn't exist. I mean, it's marvelous now. And I'd never heard the name. It was a long, long time ago. Arsene Wenger. For some reason, it started me off, and I couldn't. And I can see the courier behind the glass. Time is going. Concord's not going to wait for me, is it? Who the hell am I? And I was controlling myself getting through the Arsene Wenger, a name I'd never heard before, until I got, and this set the whole studio off, the Wankdorf Stadium. At which point I ended up literally on the floor, and I knew time was ticking. I was desperate with nerves, and I got it done eventually. It was fine, but the boy, did they pick the wrong guy.
Yeah, I have to say that my attitude to do I was so focused on doing the job all the time. I think there's a good what was that lovely thing from Gail there? Yeah.
Oh, I'll put myself down here so everyone can see you and Longie.
Hang on, Gail Smith. I remember Gail Smith.
The wonderful Gail Smith from Capital Radio.
Hello, Gail. I remember you.
Hello, Gailey. Would you like to read this, Neil?
By all means. Hi, guys.
Please.
Jonathan, lovely to see you again. I had an agency to record a radio ad with Bob Hoskins. After getting some level, Mr. Ponytail from the ad agency said, "Great, Bob, but can you sound a bit more like Warren Mitchell?" You can imagine what Bob said. "Have you ever been asked to impersonate anyone and you've said no, get the actual person?" Obviously, that doesn't apply if someone's dead. I used to like Bob Hoskins. Long Good Friday. What a film.
Oh, my God.
Just
Now, we've got an eruption.
That's it.
Hands across the water. But Gail Smith, a wonderful, wonderful, if you're not in the broadcasting industry, a legend and a charming person as well.
Tell a similar story. Yeah, hello, Gail. I've worked with Gail a lot, actually. Good old Gail. Lovely, lovely woman. I worked with Paul Eddington. It's actually a similar thing. And he'd never done a voiceover before. And he said to me, "I've never done one of these before." And his legs started going under the table. Poor man. Unbelievable. I know.
Wow.
Couldn't believe it. And he was in Yes Minister at the time.
He was a huge star. Huge
comedy, brilliant comedy actor. Brilliant.
Oh, wonderful,
brilliant.
Wonderful.
And the agency said, "We wondered, Paul, could you do a Yorkshire accent for us?" They said. And he went, well, I could have a go. And his legs started going, and it was really, and I actually chipped in. I don't know. I was unbelievably polite. If you ever say anything, the number of times you try and say something to say, actually, this script doesn't make sense. Never say that. Yeah. They go, "We're happy with it. Thanks very much. We're happy." In other words, just shut up. Shut the F up.
It's the way, it's the passive aggressive way that they do that.
Yeah.
Does that remind you of anyone, Neil? The passive aggressive?
Not at this stage, no.
I think not.
Anyway, so I actually said, "Oh, you're being phoned." I actually said, "Oh, God,
studio discipline, please, Russ."
What's happening?
It's the death phone.
Help!
I've got to take this call.
Oh my God! I'll carry on with the story. Okay, I'll carry on with the story.
I'll take Russ off from him. You can put yourself back in. Go on, carry on.
I'll finish the story. And I actually said, and I actually chipped in. I said, "Look, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I was unbelievably apologetic all the time. Almost put my hand up. Sorry about this, but it might be an idea to I'll do Paul play my part, and I'll do if you want someone to play it like that, I'll do the part myself. Is that I'll do that, and you can, and Paul will play the other character." And they went, "Yes, what a wonderful idea." Meanwhile, we'd taken 9 takes and we'd got nowhere with it. And he was getting more and more nervous about the whole thing. And he kept saying, "Sorry about this. I've never done this before." And I kept thinking, well, surely you've got an idea. He must have done some radio. But anyway, he was freaking out. So the worst possible thing was to ask him to play some completely different character. Why get Paul Eddington in and ask him to play somebody else? What on earth was that about? But to answer Gail's question, I was never an impressionist, Gail. So I did go to a situation where somebody thought I was an impressionist, and they asked me to play the policeman from Hello Hello for a convention that was on that very evening, and because he spoke, but the idea was he was speaking a very bad French accent, wasn't he? That was the concept.
I was just pissing by that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, "I'll just have to have a go, but I can't do it." And similarly, somebody else wanted me to do it. And I said, "Look, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you listen to my reel. I used to do, when I started, I did impressions. As going back to my dad, he did impressions. I never knew about that. But I did impressions, and I found it too pressurized in studios, because if you didn't quite get the impression the way they wanted it, they could be unbelievably rude. And I felt, I'll avoid this. I mean, I can do sort of, I used to do Paul O'Grady quite well. Wasn't a bad one doing that. Could do him. But and I used to do Alec Guinness. I could do as well. Apparently, my Alec Guinness was quite good, I think. But in fact, that was just terrible. But it used to be. But I'm not an impressionist. I just do masses of different characters. And I love that. Indeed, thank you, Rosemary. Yes, the ambassador's reception is known, which of course I did that ad to my bemusement, to my horror. Because that was such a silly commercial, because everybody hated it. The reason that would never be supposed to be the worst commercial ever made, but the reason that it
sounds incredible fun what you do.
Yeah. Well, I have.
It sounds so much fun.
I have to say, I actually feel I've got a huge case of imposter syndrome, because I can't believe I've made a living out of this. I cannot believe it. And at the same time, I've got people saying, "Well, you should have been an actor." Actually, somebody said to me, "You've wasted your career," because I played Caliban at Chichester, and I worked it out at the time. The man at the car park who moved the barrier up and down was making £100 a week more than we were.
Holy moly.
And I thought, I'm in the wrong business here. And so I made lots of tapes and I wandered around. I really, because I'm not, I'm outgoing, but I'm a bit shy as well. And I really girded my loins to go and
it's tough to do that. It's one thing. It's one thing to perform.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. When I started being a celebrant, it's really hard to cold call and do the work. And I hadn't done that in years, and it's horrible. And your phrase is absolutely right. Girding one's loins. It was, yeah.
That's one of my mums, by the way. One of my mums, Russ. My mother was fantastic. She's a fantastic woman. She was such a character. She played international table tennis for England. Got to the 1949 World Doubles final. And she was a bit of an iconoclast because they didn't pick her. And she went found an American mate and beat the English pair, which really didn't go down terribly well. Didn't go down well at all. Absolutely. But she was also an advertising copywriter in an era. She's one of the first women advertising copywriters.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
She was really, really, and just such fun, and wrote poetry, and and she said to me, I used to come back and playing football, and I'm a big football fan, Russ, but no, you're not. And I used to go and I'm a Chelsea fan. This is why this is in the background here.
Who is that? I've no idea.
Mickey Thomas, 1986.
Right.
Played for Chelsea. Wonderful player. One of my heroes. But I used to go and play football in Holland Park. We lived in Kensington. And I'd come back and say, Mother, is tea ready? And she'd say, I am not giving you tea unless you say, is tea ready? Is tea ready? Say it. Mother, is tea ready? Yes, it is, darling. Well, thanks very much. What is it? No. What is it? What is it? And we go through this. Both of us knew we were both taking the mickey, and I'm 9, but we're still playing this game. I still do it now, actually, with my daughter. I say to her, stop what you're doing and run to me. I say at the door, and she comes and goes, hello, Daddy, hello. So we're just playing stupid role
This
play.
coming in from Liz Saul, who we love. I was one of the first sat-nav voices when they became commercially available. Recorded everything was...
That's so Liz.
Very funny.
She's so proper, though.
Very funny.
She's so proper, but that is absolutely typical Liz.
Very good. Very good.
Let me ask you a question which is slightly off-piste.
Oh, yes.
And it's something which has always really interested me. Your father was incredibly famous and much loved.
He was
in everything, and everybody knew him. And I was a kid. I remember the TV show Crane so clear. Talking of voiceovers. I mean, wow! Did Patrick Allen? How many voiceovers did he do? He was like,
he set up a studio. Set up Wiseman's. Wiseman's was his studio in Lexington Street.
That's right. I used to do some work there. God, so long ago. How difficult was it for you I'm going to use a really stupid old-fashioned phrase, to plow your own furrow? You've got this huge dad. How hard is it to get out of his shadow when you were starting out?
I heard people saying, I remember coming into the studio once and heard somebody saying, well, Jonathan Kidd, of course, said that, he owes all his success to his father. And you think, hang on a second. Now, having said that, my dad was a voiceover, which I didn't know. He was a dubber, dubbed massively in the 50s. Massive number of dubs he did. Got his diaries and everything. But he was good at voices. He was good in the same way that I've been good. Not that I would say it, but I've forgotten the question. What was the question again?
How difficult was it to get out of his shadow when you were starting off?
They wanted me to be him. And so I was in Minder and Minder 3 times, and The Bill, and Cat's Whiskers, Cat's Eyes, and lots of stuff that was all playing a character like that, because they wanted, and I remember going into an interview and saying, and the producer saying, we thought you'd be a Cockney, and I said, well, I'm an actor, and well, your father's a Cockney. I said, I'm terribly sorry, my father's not a Cockney. I said, my father's Irish and speaks like me. I said, he just puts the voice on. And this person said, I'm terribly sorry, your father's a Cockney. And I said, I think I would know whether whether he was a Cockney or not. Don't you think that? And of course, at that moment, the job took human form and dived out of the window because
of course it did. Of course it did.
Producer.
You're screwed. You can't. There's nowhere to go after that.
But they did try, and I was a bit naive, and I should have gone back to drama school. I look back now; it's so easy to be in hindsight. I should have done it completely differently. I'd have had a completely different career. I've had a lot of people say, "Yes, particularly university was horrendous for people thinking your father's a millionaire. You know what are you doing here, you posh bastard." Sorry, I've said bastard, but you know,
say what you like. It's fine.
Thank you. But I had a lot of that, a huge amount of that, and I think knowing that lots of people have fallen by the wayside, I think I've actually done okay. But at the same time, I realized the resentment. I still get the resentment now. I still feel
even now.
Even now, I feel
even now that you've been established in your own right for many, many years.
But it's the fact that you're doing something that everybody wanted to do and never got into doing it for whatever reason. And I don't think frequently it was. I think I chose the right time to do it. I think I made tapes just because I just thought tapes were, you know, I needed to do this. In fact, when I got on to do all the Radio 4 stuff, in order to take a tape in to see a producer who I'd been at school with, I thought if he hears my tape, he'll throw it in the bin. I wandered into the Radio 4 comedy department, pretending to be somebody else. I made an appointment as somebody called Jonathan Middleton. And I went and I said, Jonathan Middleton, and I went up to Radio 4 corridor, went in to see him. And I said, it's, and he went, hello, Jonathan, what are you doing? He said, I'm sorry, I've got an interview with somebody. I said, yes, it's me. I've lied about who I am. And he said, yeah, he said, you're right. I wouldn't have listened to your tape. He said, I've listened to this.
Wow.
He said, you're really good. He said, and I did. He said, we'd like to be in a pilot on Sunday. I said, I'd love to be in a pilot on Sunday. He said, good, we're looking for somebody. And it was a show called Dial M for Pizza, which was a comedy series. It was on for 4 seasons, I think it was, on Radio 4. And it started off my Radio 4 career, which I've done. I was in a series called The Castle, which was fantastic series.
You're right that so many people want to get into it. What advice would you give to aspiring people? Because we're all told it's very, very hard. Like when I was at Capital, I tried to get into voiceovering, and I was told by this rather snooty voiceover agency that they preferred actors because they can do more voices. So I said, well, I can do a pretty good Sean Connery, and she put the phone down.
God.
But I have to say that was good. That was good. So, you know. Hey, but the reality of it, it's completely changed now. I have no ability to advise anybody on anything because they will accept anybody and everything now because it's all they want the real thing. I was told recently doing a job. This bloke said to me, this producer said, he said, "You're not very authentic, are you?" He said, and I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Well," he said, "You're not authentic. It's not. None of these voices are real, are they? You're just making them up." And I said,
well, no shit.
Yeah. And
really?
I said, he said, "What's your real voice?" And I actually said, "Actually, that's the way I speak. It's that voice." He went, "Oh my God, that's wonderful." He said, "Can we use that one?" I said, "Well, no, that's not my real voice because I speak like this. Obviously, I'm doing that to show that I could do it because I can do that voice. And in fact, that's actually almost Brian Connolly, that, by the way, Russ. Did you know that? Brian Connolly, because I wrote 28 songs for him. I was in all his sketch series in the 90s. And I wrote
some. I wrote for that show.
Did you? You're fantastic. I may have done one of your sketches, wouldn't that be wonderful?
When it was Dangerous Brian and all of that sort.
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
Dangerous Brian. It's a puppet.
Yeah, yes.
So whenever Brian Connolly or Mrs. Connolly post anything that anything's good, like if it's a birthday, it's a birthday, and it's just a gag which has lasted about 30 years. Here's a great question for you, Jonathan. Other than yourself, of course, who do you think is possibly the crawler Claridge?
Yes.
The best voiceover actor in the business, in my opinion, Nancy Cartwright, is in at least the top 5 of all time greats. I would add, before you answer, I would have to add Jim Meskimen, my pal in Los Angeles, who is extraordinary.
Yeah, I'm ignorant. I don't know. I don't know enough. I'm too self-obsessed. I don't.
Good answer. I love the honesty.
That's so great. I wish every actor could just be. No, I don't know. I'm self-obsessed. It's about me. Who the hell cares? I don't know. That's enough about me. There we go. That's enough about me.
I work with some fantastic actors. Jan Ravens, wonderful.
Oh
wonderful.
my God. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Kate Robbins, wonderful. People I work with.
Here's a bit of trivia for you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Kate Robbins and I were once engaged. The engagement lasted about 12 minutes. We were both very drunk at a party in the 80s. We decided it would be a great idea if we got married. We then slightly either sobered up or got slightly more drunk and decided the engagement was off.
That's even quicker than a Hollywood marriage.
Brilliant.
We're still in touch. I went to see her at the Pheasantry. I think it was the Pheasantry or somewhere, but she was doing a wonderful cabaret, and she announced her former fiance in the audience. I nearly died. I was so embarrassed.
Brilliant, brilliant. Very talented family, Kate.
Aren't they just?
Ted, her brother. What a great stand-up. My goodness me, superb, and also the daughters as well. I mean, wow.
Oh yes, Emily
did a wonderful Who Do You Think You Are? Oh my goodness. I really enjoy watching that program, Who Do You Think You Are, because you just see the insights into some actors and characters, and you just you think, wow, what a great person you are. I really would I always go, I'd like to know you, and it will never happen, of course, because they're just who was it? Sue Perkins. Oh my goodness, what a completely wonderful show that was.
Really?
What a compassionate. Yeah, have you not come across her in a nice light? No.
Oh, I don't know. I just.
But this was
my comedy. I don't know. I just think.
But this was a Who Do You Think You Are program with the depth.
No, I like that program a lot.
Yeah.
I like. Longie, do you watch that?
Why I've mentioned that? Can I just segue into something? Why I've mentioned that is because I'm trying to make a documentary about my father.
Yeah.
And I'm finding an angle because I've got no money to make it. I tried to get money from Belfast Screen. And did you think that as he was born in Belfast and he made over 290 films, my dad, he'd be quite important for them as in a film business? And this girl said to me, she said, "But you don't live in Belfast, do you? If you lived in Belfast, we might give you a small amount of money, but you don't live there. So you don't live here." So, and I said, she said, "I'd like to know where you're going to get the money from." And I said, "Well, funnily enough, I was hoping you, but clearly this isn't going to take place now, is it? So I don't know. I'll scrimp and save somehow."
You know what's refreshing about this conversation? I can see it written all over Longie's face as well. We only think it happens to us, that we get like either rejected or have the most stupid bloody conversations. You think one of us is going mad. It must be me because this is not normal. But hearing these ridiculous stories, you think
this is just a day in the life. I would imagine.
Thank God.
I maintain though it sounds incredible fun. I have to say.
No, but you're right. You're right. I have a great joy about my life, and in fact, I got told by somebody in a jealous way recently. They said to me, "Why are you so happy all the time?" In a negative, it was almost even negative, and I thought, I was intrigued by it. And
since when was
it's a criticism?
Right? Yeah. When I think there was a jealousy there, I've felt jealous. My mother used to say, "Be very prepared for lots of people being jealous because your dad was very well known, and and you're not a bad looking bloke, and you're quite talented. Just be prepared." And I've been gullible and foolish about things so often and trusting. And
I'm like that. I can be very trusting. I've had to learn sometimes the hard way.
Absolutely.
And jealousy is a horrible trait.
It's vile.
But I was. It's. I don't know. The book is it has a lot of these ridiculous events that we've been mentioning about the frustration of people being idiots with you. Which particularly thank you very much for that. Yeah, can I just, while I'm here, show you? And I show this one here. This one here is I've republished my father's book on being a prisoner of war for 5 years in Poland, which he was.
Wow.
And it sold 50,000 in 1973. And it's a fantastic read. I kid you not. It's absolutely brilliant because he makes light of the fact because he was a funny writer. He's a very funny man. And he makes light of the fact that he's captured at Calais. They're marched for days and days with hardly anything to eat, and they're then Nazi slave labor. that's what the Nazis did to them. And they never mentioned it when they came out, but that is what happened to them. And so many of them died on these marches, and they all became completely emaciated. But he and it was 5 years, and they actually, things got better for them as the war got worse for the Germans, and all the food parcels came from England. But he escaped, eventually escaped the thing called the Long March that Hitler attempted to. I think the idea was to march all the prisoners into Germany and use them as hostages, but it all fell apart because the D-Day landings had been so successful.
Wow.
That but he then escaped via the Russians, and they attempted to shoot them all. But if you didn't speak German to them, if you said if you said something in German to them, they'd think you were German, so they'd shoot you. So you had to be armed with all of these Kamerad, Stalin, da, all of this kind of stuff. You have to shout out at them. But then there's a lovely story in the book about he almost gets shot and he escapes by weaving, and then he says no, English, a whole series of phrases, and manages to persuade the Mongolian Russian that he isn't actually a German, and then finally goes to Odessa. And gets the boat back. And the first thing he did, what I love this, was the first two things he did was he immediately got an act together and went down to London and did a comedy act in a club.
No.
Yeah, because that was him thinking what was normality, was he went and did that. And he went and watched a football match. He went and watched Chelsea play Moscow Dynamo. There were 100,000 people obviously thinking the same. But this is 1945. But then that follows on. I've segued beautifully, Russ. Forgive me. I've segued wonderfully there. Is into the book that I then wrote, which is this is the one where the autobiography was pretty awful, because he'd say things like in it, work with Harry Seacombe. He was great, full stop. And and I remember reading it thinking, I don't think that's a very good book, Father.
Can we have a bit more action?
What was it exactly? But then there were about 18 really good core stories about working with Robert Newton on Treasure Island. He was one of the first.
Why does everybody do that? If you say pirate, it's all down to Robert Newton.
But I didn't think he ever said. I never thought he went ar. I thought he went ahar. I always thought it was ahar. I thought there was a double in it somehow. Ahar.
There could be. I'm not going to bet the house on it. This is coming in from the northeastern United States. Longie, if you would do the honors, I'd be grateful.
Jealousy goes to the heart of a person. I've dealt with jealousy throughout my career. I no longer take it personally, but I've learned to recognize it is their issue. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It really has very little to do with you and everything to do with them.
Right. And this coming in from your mate, Rosemary Jessup, as I say, my tipster for what's going to win the 3:30 at Kempton Park. Escapism from the horror of war. This has been an absolute joy to watch and listen to. The name dropping has brought back some great memories. Thank you all. Thank you, Jonathan, really. Jeez.
It's been a most entertaining hour, I have to say. Thank you, Jonathan.
Oh, absolutely loved it. There's a question from Graham Pack, but I think I know what the answer is. And Graham is asking you this. What do you think of the they're called Nepo babies? Oh, Nepo babies. Oh, that's how you... Thank God for you. I didn't know how to... I saw that word earlier and I didn't know how to pronounce it. Nepo babies who are only famous because they're parents without any talent of their own.
I've sort of got to the stage of my life where I say good luck to everybody who can make a living, I think if they can find something to do and they're happy with it, well, good luck to you, mate. But I think you get found out a bit later on. I'm attempting to... I've got so much memorabilia of my father's. I'm just thinking of making... I look on eBay and somebody's got a letter my father's written to somebody rather meaninglessly is on for 36 quid. And I've thought, blimey, I've got most of the letters he wrote for the whole of his career. I wonder how much money I could make from that by putting that on eBay.
There's a huge interest. There's a huge interest because
absolutely
it's gone. It's never going to come back. The world has changed so much. And it's bizarre considering the horrors you just said of him being captured as a prisoner by the Germans, or the Nazis, as we need to call them these days, because we're all friends. Exactly. We're all friends. There was no German knew about it. It was just the Nazis. They may have been German. They may not have been. We don't know. The jury's out. Who knows? Never knew anything about it. Good Lord.
Well said.
Really anyway,
said.
You've got all that, and yet it seemed a gentler time when more was possible. And now we're in this
But
peculiar world.
Is that through ignorance? Is that through people not being able to express themselves? Is that through now people have a channel, don't they, to put forward their opinion? And also, I feel social media gives people a status, whereas before they didn't have any status,
and a lot of time an undeserved one as well.
Completely, yeah. So
gives people a voice that shouldn't have one. In one sense, everyone should have a voice. In one sense, don't abuse the privilege, I guess.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kidd, you are a blooming legend. This is the quickest hour I can recall. The book,
no, it really is really brilliant. Go quicker, sound slower. An actor's voice over diary, part 1.
I love
August to November.
Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm going to have a quick chat with Longie. Bless you for coming on.
Loved it.
Thanks for all you do. Good luck with the book.
All the best,
it's on
Jonathan.
Amazon.
Really
everybody.
good to meet you.
Thank you. Good and good to meet you too. And thanks, Russ.
Bye.
Good day. Can I just plug Wednesday quickly?
Yeah, I would. That's why I wanted to chat to you, and so you could.
Thank you. Wednesday, we're talking to Lynn Crilly and Paul Cooper, whose daughter is Daisy May Cooper, who's a big hit TV, BBC series, but he's very successful as well. And he's involved in a project which also involves Bobby Davro and me, and my radio wife, Nikki Patrick, which is a film all about, it's called A Day in the Life with an Eating Disorder, with my friend Lynn Crilly, who went through her own experience with her daughter's mental health, and has made 3 films: Day in the Life with OCD, A Day in the Life with Anxiety, and this is the new one. And I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to talk to them all about the project, what they're trying to achieve, mental health and all that sort of thing, and how to maintain it.
That sounds terrific.
Most importantly. And in other news, my golden hot pants have arrived, and I'll explain why on Wednesday. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great.
I'm done. Golden hot pants. I can't top that. Goodbye, everyone. I can't end the show. You have to press
I'll
the
do
button.
it.
Thank you. If you could press the button, I'd be grateful. God, stop it. Golden hot pants.